Okay, this is a video showing how to repair slats on a Venetian blind. And the key on this is realizing that these blinds are designed to come apart. And the lift cable, I've taken off the plug on this side, okay, and the lift cable has a knot in it. When I untie that knot, I can feed that lift cable up through the point where I need to replace one of these. And then I can just slide out the damaged slat. Now, you'll notice on this window, this Venetian blind is longer than it needs to be. It's got actually quite a few additional blinds. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 that are longer than it needs to be. And the length of this Venetian blind is also adjustable. So I don't even need to buy any new slats. I can take the slats from the bottom. I can adjust the length as needed to replace those ones which are damaged. Okay, so I'll just put this on pause, and I'll start taking these out. Okay. Okay, I've untied the slip knot on both sides. These knots were pretty easy to undo because they're not really under any great tension. Okay, next I will feed this through. Okay, I've pulled the lift cord all the way up through to the highest broken slat. Now I will be able to slide the broken slat out because it's actually the lift cord that's holding it in place. So I'll remove all of the broken slats. Okay, I took out 4 slats that were damaged. One of them wasn't damaged too badly, but because I had plenty of spares at the bottom, I went ahead and took it out. Now I'll slide up some replacement slats by sliding them out of the lower positions and putting them in place in the upper positions. Okay, I took 4 out from the lower positions and I replaced them where all the broken ones were, so now there are no more broken ones, or at least none that are severely broken. Okay, there might be some that had little tears in them, but I didn't notice. So, in any case, they look fine. Okay, now I actually put a little tape on one of the ones that had that little tear because I put it back in what will become the very lowest position, which means it'll never actually be seen. And the tear is in the back side of it, and the back side of it is also that portion which actually never gets seen. I don't think it'll be seen, and that way I'll have that as a spare in case for the future, in case I have a more serious problem. Okay, now what I'm going to do is feed the cord back through and then tie it on the 2 spots. Then I'll take up the slack on these other things and I'll reassemble this. Okay, I did feed it through. It took a little while. You have to be patient. I missed a couple. I had to start over. I had to make sure that I fed it through on the right side of those restraints so that it matched up with the upper portion. So eventually I got it. Then I tied the little knot back in on the end, exactly like it was previously. I didn't make any adjustment to the length, and the reason is because the way this works, it looks like I'll be able to take up all of the slack just by the length of the remaining cord. Okay, so now I'm just going to go over and do the exact same thing on the other side. I'm going to feed this through. Okay, I threaded it through on the left side. Now while I did this, I noticed that you can actually thread this cord through two filaments to make it captive. Now, when I looked at the other side, I could see that that was not done on the part above where I took it out, but it was done occasionally. And other than that, the cord sometimes went to the right and sometimes to the left of that, and sometimes through it. So there almost seemed to be no regard for that. Now, what I did was, when I checked a couple of them, I saw that the cord was always to the left. Oh, I'm sorry, to the right or to the outside of the double filament. So that's the way I did it all the way down. So when I went to this side, rather than to undo this side, since I didn't really see an established pattern, I put it on the outside. That way, the blind cannot move, okay, in one direction or the other, because it is held by those yeah. So I think it's going to be okay, but I just thought I'd mention that. Of course, I could redo it, but I'm just going to see how this turns out. Yeah, because I think the filaments will keep the blind from moving to the right or to the left, because if it's on the outside on both of them, then that keeps it in both directions. If it was on the outside on one and on the inside of the other, it seems like it could move in that direction. Okay, I tied it off at the bottom. Next, I'm going to take up the slack on this end, and I'm going to try just doing something with shoving it back into the hole and then putting the cap back on. Okay, as I was pulling this cord through, I noticed that the original knot was actually a slip knot. So when I pulled it tight through, the knot just undid. So in this case, I've simply replaced it by a single overhand knot. I'm not sure why the original knot was done that way, but I think this slip knot is still going to produce a large enough feature so it will not pull through that hole, and I don't think it will undo either. So I don't quite follow that, but that's what I did. Okay, I need to correct myself again, because I realized that I needed to undo the knot, because I have to slide the bottom one through too in order to take up the slack. So I was premature on tying the knot. This has to come out. I have to move it up 3 slots and then proceed. Okay, I took the bottom rod out and I moved it up 3 slots. Now I'm going to put the lift cord through and tie a knot. Okay, I took up the slack on the middle one, and I was able to put that plug back in. I couldn't see any precise way of doing it. I could see that maybe I could have done a slightly neater job, but the plug does seem to stay in, so I'll see how that works. Okay, I tried doing a nicer or neater job on this side, but it seems okay. Let me try the other side. Okay, this one might have been my neatest one, but the other ones, as long as they work, I won't have any problem with it. So I've got them all there. Let me see if this actually works. Okay, well. Okay. Seems to work. I still have a stack of 3 or so on the bottom. I do see a slight weakness in my technique here that seems, to move. This can move because of the way that I did it. Whereas if I alternated or put it through the middle pieces, it would stay strictly like that, so you can see the way it's curved in. So I do see that I did make a slight flaw now. I would say that that's probably not a big deal because it still works fine. But the key is I could change that relatively simple. If I didn't like it, I could untie that, rethread it through the last 5 or 6 or so, just to perfect it. Okay, I undid the lift cord on this side, and for about the last 15 or so, I would go 4 on one side, 4 on the other, 4 on one side, 4 on the other. I also noticed that on this particular side, that last hole had been enlarged a little bit. It's hard to see the focus on that, but and the little single overhand knot did pull through on me, so I tied that double. On this side, however, it looks like that hole did not have that same type of problem. It hasn't been enlarged, which means that it probably hasn't pulled through. It might have already pulled through on this side once before, I don't know. Or it just might have failed when I was pulling on it with the single overhead knot. It might have broke off a little piece. To make that a little bit too tight on that side. So anyway, that hole is a little bit bigger on that side than that side. Right now it seems like it's working pretty good. Now this did take quite a while. I did get better at it after a while, and I did make a number of mistakes. If I had to do this on a few other blinds, and I might have a couple other blinds that I need to do this on, or getting to know how to do this once is probably a good trick, because now I actually have like 3 or 4 more blinds that I could also still yet replace. I could have cut this at the lower section, but all I did was I just stuffed the excess inside this bottom tube, because the bottom tube has got quite a bit of space in it. Okay, and there's a small inconvenience possibly of having that bottom part rest on here and having it a little stacked, but I think it's worth doing that to have the spares. Yeah, so this went on a little bit longer than I was planning, but now I do have a new Venetian blind for this place. Thanks, bye.